What's going on? It's Preacher! Welcome to the second ever Workshop Wednesday. I'm clean shaven and all sorts of good stuff. I started the day covered in mud. So it's been a great day, and now we're going to start the show with a wonderful holler. Look at that chat. You fucking ballers. You fucking ballers. Can I get a holler for another piece of news that I found out today? I'm going to be a daddy. Yeah, I found it out. Oh, I'm going to be a daddy. I know, right? What a day. What a day of days. Yeah, it's one of those days. So it's been pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, I know. A little bit scary. A little bit scary. But we will not fear. We will not fear because the YouTube and the internet world will provide, and we'll do really well in the next 9 months, and we'll continue to make the channel awesome. That's what the plan is. We're gonna be good. We're gonna be good. So, without further ado, and thank you very much for those grazies. I was pretty chuffed. Let us continue with Workshop Wednesday. Workshop Wednesday is awesome for a number of reasons. One, I get to sort of flex my mental muscles and watch people play and learn a little bit about what people are up to in the game, which is cool. And I also get to express and hopefully help you guys become better, which is the aim of the channel, right? We want to be better. We want to play better, because I never believe anybody who tells me they have fun while sucking DPS and getting told that they suck. I never believe it, and I refuse to believe it. I absolutely refuse to believe it. So we're going to be doing a workshop on a number of awesome players. We're going to be looking at the new 5.2 PTR Throne of Thunder bosses. Yes, we are. We're going to be taking a look at those and getting ready for that kind of stuff. Sort of a mini guide. I don't want to really attach the word guide to it. But we're going to be taking a look at that and what you can do and how you can see the top guilds get ready for brand new bosses. How do they progress? Okay, how do they do that? How do they walk into an encounter and just defeat it? They did it before gear was an issue. So how do we do that? We're also going to be looking at a heroic blood DK, tanking one of the current encounters that some of you may be having trouble with, and also take a look at how heroic guilds start bypassing certain mechanics in order to make the fight easier so they can kill it quicker. One of the big things about farming raids is that it's boring as fuck. We're just there to collect the gear. We've already killed it. The thrill of the kill is gone. All we want to do now is kill it faster. And as we progress in gear and our raid becomes stronger, we can start to realise that certain mechanics, which we kind of thought were a big deal, aren't anymore. They're just not a big deal. And when we break a fight down into its component parts, it actually becomes considerably easier once we start getting a good threshold on the fight. The other person we're going to look at is one of you wonderful subscribers, one of you wonderful people who've sent me a workshop in of them playing and just feeling like they're not quite up to snuff. And is there anything we can do to help? So I think, first of all, we're going to kick off with the Blood DK. I think that'd be a good place to start. Because I like this. I like what we're going to look at. It makes it really interesting for me in order to show you how a fight seems scary, but once you actually get into the nuts and bolts of it, it's not that scary. And also how players, once they get better, can get a little bit lazy. Yes, they can. Is he in the chat? I don't think so. I don't think so, but we'll see, we'll see. Okay, so we're going to jump into this now. Now, I actually just want to do something real quick, which I thought I'd already done, but I'm doing this for a good reason. I actually want people to be able to see the questions you guys are posing towards me. So I trust you guys not to be super trollish. That would be really, really nice. I want you guys to be able to do that. So I'm going to stick that up there, away from any buffs or anything like that. So if you can try not to troll, that would be awesome. That would be the best thing ever. Not easy with Ghosty in the chat. I understand. I understand. Okay. So we're looking at the Stone Guard. Heroic, okay? We've got a wonderful Blood DK tank here. And I'm just going to play this for the first few seconds. You can see he's using my UI, which obviously means it's awesome, right? It's my UI, so it can't possibly go wrong. And we're going to see a couple of things that start off straight away. Now, what this isn't going to be is a look at specific Blood DK abilities and how they're managed. That's going to be coming later from the same player, which is all fine and dandy. So, what we're going to see straight away is this. Now, I love this. It was the first thing I spotted. The Stone Guard is one of those fights where the abilities of the fight dictate that there should be loads of movement, right? when you start doing this fight, either normal or heroic, you kind of get this idea that you should be dancing around the place really crazily. You should be all over the place, these pools on the floor, these bombs, there's all this kind of shit going on. What else we can see while we're doing this is this obvious idea of lighting the tiles up. This Billie Jean style of doing things, which then dictates a lot more movement. What's actually going to happen is that gear and experience with the fight has actually determined a much easier way of doing this fight. These tanks, this one here, our wonderful protection paladin over here, I believe he's a paladin, and a warrior over here, are not going to move at all. They're not going to move at all, which is really good. And this will actually simplify the fight for those of you who've learned it, okay? This is how this fight gets done once you start to understand that certain mechanics aren't as threatening as they might first appear. We think that amethyst pools are the death. We've got to run the whole raid away. We've got to get out of there. Cobalt bombs are a nightmare, right? We've got to get rid of them. We've got to avoid them. We've got to get absolutely anywhere we can possibly do to avoid that damage. Once we actually start to realise they're not that bad, we simplify the fight immensely. We really do. We simplify the fight immensely. So as you can see here, these tanks are not going to be moving. They're going to stay here for just a God knows. Now, there's a number of reasons why this is amazing. Firstly, they are all within taunt range of all the adds. This triangular formation means they are always in taunt range of every single add. Also means that melee DPS is going to thrive. Absolutely thrive, because melee DPS sucks when they're not in range of the target. With mobs that are dancing all around the place, this fight seems chaotic, then they're going to lose a lot of DPS. The fight lasts longer, healer mana gets a little bit more drained, and just in general, tanks run out of cooldowns and so on and so forth, and it gets worse if we can't utilize this melee DPS properly. So this positioning is fucking awesome. Now, I know what you guys are thinking, especially if you've actually done this fight and you're not using this kind of tactic, is that they're going to get fucked up when amethyst pools and stuff come. What about when all this stuff starts to go wrong? And there are ways around that. There are actually very simple ways about bypassing this encounter, which is pretty cool, which makes just everything much easier. Makes it so much easier. So we're going to play on. We're going to continue to do this. Now, one thing I will notice is I want you to take note of any errors that you think are massive in terms of our player himself, that you think, I would never do that if I was in his position. No, these tanks are just not going anywhere. Even the tank here, who should be covered in amethyst pools, there's several around him, are not in any danger whatsoever. You can see, now here's something great. If this was you and you were tanking this fight, you would be panicking right now. You've just had a cobalt mine spawn right under you. Your instinct is to get the fuck out of there. Not so. Watch what we do. We pop anti-magic shell, and we soak it up. We soak it. Gives us a full, nice big runic power chunk, and also means we take barely any damage. What we've done is just nullified that segment of the encounter. So many of you I see doing the heroic stone guard, and you're trying to learn this encounter, and you're panicking when you see things like cobalt mines. Holy fuck, a cobalt mine! And you're really panicking about it. Tanks, all three of these tanks are going to be soaking up cobalt mines outside of that phase. In fact, it will be extremely rare that we see a cobalt mine up for any period of time in this fight, even outside of the cobalt phase. They're just going to be soaking it up. So he soaks it with AMS. That part of the encounter is completely nullified. Look, no cobalt mines out there. In fact, you'll see here, the DPS even soak it, I believe. Yep, see? Gone. They just soak it. But they prepare cooldowns. Look, the raid did not die. The raid did not die. Now, that's not gear. That's just nice use of cooldowns. You can see they soak it up straight away. No. Now, look here. Just a quick taunt. Look how quickly the melee DPS are shifting between these positions. Still maintaining this triangular formation. Trying to keep the casters nicely in the middle. And just sucking all the amethyst pools out there. Amethyst pools are not that big. You can move out of them very easily. And therefore, we're keeping this wonderful triangle and just keeping the DPS up. Now, this annoys me immensely. His diseases aren't up. I fucking hate this. Ghost Kipper was already all over it. Ghost Kipper spotted it straight away. Diseases fall off. Diseases are going to be off for the majority of this fight. Upon asking our wonderful Ammon, who's in the chat, he just says it's pure laziness. Now, there's actually another reason when we spoke about this fight, when he sent it me, we had a discussion today. There's another reason that this happens. Does anybody know what the reason is? I would be really interested if you could tell me why. There is a reason because his add-on easily tracks if diseases are on or not. There's a reason that his not even noticed, and the fact that he doesn't really give a shit. There's a very, very good reason for it. I wonder if you know what it is. We're really interested to see any answers as to why that is. Another DK in the raid? No. I'll give you a clue. It is nothing to do with debuffs. Nothing to do whatsoever. Nothing to do with runes because of threat. No. No, no, not so much DPS. I don't think you're going to get it, but how can I do this? There's a... Okay. He doesn't need it is kind of one of the reasons. Although I did make... we had a little discussion on it, but disease DPS, not only is he on his own here. I would say he didn't need them, but at this point where you're tanking on your own, that weakened blows debuff is important, in my opinion, as a tank. The weakened blows debuff is very important. It's just a lot of extra damage you're taking, which you shouldn't really be taking. The actual point is, Amon cannot see any of this. He can't see any of this. He can't see any of this. And he can't see any of this. He actually can only see about 1% of his screen right now. And for the majority of this fight, he actually only sees pretty much one area of this fight. And it's this here. This is the only thing in this encounter which can cause you to wipe. This is the only thing that can cause you to wipe. Everything else is essentially irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. All he cares about right now is the one ability which can wipe you. That is it. The one ability which can wipe you. If these things are not managed correctly, this raid is over. This fight is done and done with. He is not going to die because of melee damage. In fact, he doesn't, even without the weakened blows debuff. They are not going to die because of lack of DPS. They are not going to die because of lack of healing. The only way this raid is set to fail is if these things reach the wrong energy at the wrong time. Therefore, his entire screen is now a complete waste of life, except for this square. That's it. This square. That is all he cares about. And you'll notice that throughout the fight, they quite literally doesn't look anywhere else on the screen. You can see he hasn't noticed that the diseases have fallen off. Or he doesn't care. It's not interesting. He's not going to wipe for that reason. Not going to wipe for that reason. You just leave it on, no problem at all. If you're wondering what this is how much his blood shield is now, that number there, that figure. If you're wondering what it is, how much his blood shield is, so he can time it better. He's going to send us in another fight where he demonstrates some more Death Strike timings, which I think you guys have been more into. But even here, absolutely no interest. You can see at this point, this is a great moment in the fight which demonstrates this. The swap has occurred. It's now the Jade Guardian which needs to be DPS. You can see there, Jade Guardian begins to petrify all players. So the Jade Guardian is now the one that needs to be DPS. That's our tank's ad. And you'll see as that happens, all runes come up and he does absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. He's not looking at his abilities. All he wants to do is say, which one is it going to be? Here's Cobalt Overload. Jade. Targets Jade. Taunts it over. And that is it. Nothing else. Everything else is completely irrelevant. Takes his eye off everything else. Everything else is completely irrelevant. And note, we're now at 50%. These tanks have not moved. They are still completely there. No Cobalt mines up. Very, very easy. Very, very easy to do. And absolutely fantastic. And this really makes the fight so much easier. DPS is now increased dramatically from the idea of moving everyone around. You can see right, even right now, this looks like a dangerous situation. If I was tanking this, I would be terrified right now of the melee DPS and Amethyst pools. I would move to around this area. My instincts, everything in me would be telling me to get the fuck out of there and move to here for the sake of the melee DPS. What we're now in a situation is these healers don't actually care. Our healers are pulling 100k HPS. We can see out there you've got a Resto Shaman topping the boards like a boss at 98k, Priest at 94k, another Priest at 80k, two Paladins rocking 70 to 60k, and another Shaman at 66k who's obviously sucks balls. JK. This Shaman's clearly cheesing with healing rains. But these healers are fine. They're more than fine, and they're able to out-heal it really easily. Just with a little bit of movement from everybody else, they're more than fine. You can see this wonderful Paladin in here, just to make sure he gets in there. It's Cobalt Mine, not giving a shit. Not giving a shit. Now, it's a little bit fail, this. I believe. Yeah, okay. So, I just want to point this out because I mocked him for it when he sent me the video. You'll see the Cobalt Mine there. You can see the Cobalt Mine goes off and he takes the damage. Look at our tank skips really, really low. What he then does is pop Anti-Magic Shell. There's Anti-Magic Shell there. Pops it afterwards. There. So if he died, He could claim that well, I had anti-magic shell on. I had anti-magic shell on, no problem. I love that. Then soaks it again. Really, it's so not an issue for a tank to soak them things. But the reason is, you might be thinking, hey, you know what? You're making it so the healers have to work harder. These healers are not going to struggle with this situation. And more to the point, this allows this stationary movement. It's all about what you can handle. It's all about what you can handle. And if you can handle this, then that's great. And you make the fight 10 times easier. So you should be aware, even if you're learning this fight, especially if you've got something that can absorb magical damage, you can clear this fight out. Again, another Cobalt Mine. They actually just Bloodlust and go through it. Everyone's just stood at the rim, not really caring. Another Cobalt Mine goes off. Tries to move out of it. Not very well. I love this. They Bloodlusted, right? This is a typical heroic raid moment. This is fantastic. Note the mage. Note the mage. And then note that he's got Rune of Power. This sums up everything I was telling you about Rune of Power. Note the mage. He's in his Rune of Power. This guy ain't moving for a motherfucking train. He's not moving for anybody. Where's the Cobalt Mine? Oh, it's gone now anyway. But he wasn't moving. He's staying there. He's staying there. He's not going anywhere whatsoever. And then they go on to get the kill. This is actually a good moment here. I want you to note this. You've now got 3 of the Guardians nearly ready to explode. This is actually really a dangerous moment. This is a possibility of a wipe. This is a wipe possibility. We've got 3 Guardians ready to overload. Okay? And it's the Amethyst Guardian. Let's go through. Cobalt Guardian. It's the Cobalt Guardian that needs to be detonated. This is tricky. This is tricky, which is actually our tank's Guardian. That's the one that needs to blow up next. We need to make a decision that is instantaneous, right? We need to make an instantaneous decision here, and this is where you can sort of see players who are a bit more relaxed and why he's so focused on this. If, and I hope our player is thinking beforehand, looking at this is a really bad moment. If 2 of these detonate, then we are wiped. What can we do? If, he's thinking, I hope, if it's my mob that gets chosen next, my Amethyst Guardian, my Amethyst Guardian, I need the Cobalt Guardian, which is on 79, to get near mine, because it's the lowest energy. My current one has the lowest energy out of all of them. Mine is in no danger of exploding. So he's aware that the next one that goes off needs to be taunted immediately to me. I need the Amethyst Guardian and whichever one is about to explode, and I need to taunt it fucking fast. If I delay this taunt by many seconds, just a few seconds, I'm going to be in serious trouble. I'm actually going to be in serious trouble. And he snappily seizes the Cobalt Guardian, sucks over the Amethyst, and then we're in good shape. So he's managed to get the Amethyst and the Cobalt next to each other and prevents this situation. Look at the Jade Guardian. He's only 3 energy from causing a wipe. 3 energy from causing a wipe. It's a 98, 97, boom, 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 and down they go. It's a nice play. It happens, okay? As much as you try and control the energy on that fight, you're always going to get in a situation, it's kind of a natural enrage, where the extra 1s and 2s here and there build up and create this situation where we're in real trouble, which is what we don't want to do. So it's always good to be prepared. That is why we see things like diseases falling off, runes left around. The damage isn't going to kill him. What will kill him is those things detonating at all the wrong times, which is what we want to prevent. So you predict the future. You've got everything in front of you that you need. I need to predict what is going to make this a kill and not a wipe. I need these 2 specific mobs if this situation occurs, and then I wait for that situation. I'm ready for it. It occurs, taunt, situation resolved, wipe saved, which is fucking awesome. Absolutely awesome. So, well played, and thank you very much, Aman. The next player we're going to look at is one of our subscribers, and he's playing a shadowpriest. Now, he's level 88, and with good reason, his email said, the level 90 talents aren't going to change what my problems are. That's the good point. It's a very good point. The level 90 talents will not change what my issues are. It doesn't make a difference. If I have Halo, that's not going to dramatically change how I play this class. So a lot of people seem to believe that level 90 is when you start learning. You start learning all the time. Every time you play your character, you're going to be learning something. Shadow Priests are a special kind of beast. Unlike the Affliction Warlock, who now has the ability to multi-dot everything very, very quickly, Shadow Priests have a kind of choice to make. How long is something going to live? How do I deal with this situation? And sometimes we get it wrong, or sometimes we try and mix the two together as a kind of safety net. Don't want to do that. We run into various problems when we do that. So we're going to see our player. Yep, there he goes. Our player is going to kick off. Now, I love this instance because it presents to us a lot of problems. Now, this is a situation that a lot of you who play Shadow Priest will be in before. And you have 6 mobs. 6 mobs that are spread out. You now have a decision to make. How do I best DPS this down? How do I do that? What is the solution to this if you're playing Shadow Priest? Any ideas what we do there? Oh, we're discussing mice. Shadow Word Pain All. Multi-dot. Raise Naga Molten. Not very helpful. Dot Ruffle. Dot Ruffle. Dot Ruffle. Yeah, you've got a choice to make. Now, what we don't want to do is try and mix the two. Mixing the two is kind of a pain in the ass. If you're going to multi-dot, then multi-dot. If you're not going to multi-dot, then Mind Sear. You need to make that decision and then stick to it, because trying to do both will be a net DPS loss, and you kind of suck then. You're lost in it. How do we define the difference? There's a number of ways we can decide. In this situation, I am certainly going to be putting dots on this guy, but I'm also going to be assuming this guy is running back to the pack. If I see 6 mobs as a Shadow Priest, my instinct is to Mind Sear. Any more than 5 mobs, I want to be Mind Searing. That should be a DPS increase. If I'm around 4 or 5 mobs, I'm going to multi-dot, especially if you've taken the talent from Darkness Comes Light. If you're not sure what that talent does, your Vampiric Touch gives you a chance for instant cast Mind Spikes, which then lead to instant cast Mind Blasts, and so on and so forth, and also the procs that come from your other spells, and you can fish them out and AoE that way. So let's go into it. So he's started to dot one target, and then you can see this moment here, which is like, ugh, what do I do? His instinct is to Mind Sear, which is actually correct. But he's not set his focus target, which is awesome. So he's going to set his focus target on the tank, and now he's just going to Mind Sear off the tank. Now, a couple of things here that I would like to note, and I think you guys should do as well, is this trash over here has also been pulled. So these are now in the fight. As a DPSer, we don't like to be the ninja pull. We never like to do that. What we do want to see is that this stuff has been pulled, and now we have an opportunity for extra DPS. We really do. Your instinct is, I need to finish these mobs first. If you really care about doing DPS, you want to try and get the mobs over there, and I want to see this rate. This tank is actually the guy at error here. He should be moving these mobs into there. If you're going to bother pulling this trash, then you should get your ass over there and pull everything else into it. So as you can see, he multi-dotted one mob, or he dotted one mob, and now he's continuing to multi-dot as well. This is going to be a recurring theme, is dotting when the mob is about to die. This is not a good place to be. You don't want to be doing this, okay? You really need to make this decision. This goes for any of you out there who are playing dot-based classes. Is this thing going to die? If it's going to die before a couple of ticks of your dots get off, you need to kill the bastard. You need to fuck him running through with your blade. You need to fuck him up. Because otherwise, your dots are just doing nothing. You're just casting a couple of globals and nothing's going to happen. You're not going to see any damage because your dots aren't going to tick. Need to make that decision. Is this thing going to die? I ain't going to do fucking anyway. I'm not going to dot the shit out of it. My dot's just going to be wasted, and I don't want that at all. So off he goes and gets into here. Now again, it's that decision process. Puts his Devouring Plague on, which I would have done, and then cast the Vampiric Touch. Couple more Vampiric Touches. Mind Blast, Vampiric Touch, Mind Sear. Now look how long it takes to get to the Mind Sear. This is one of the problems, and you can see that's reflected in the DPS meter here. He's down pretty low. This is why you need to decide, are you multi-dotting or are you AoEing? If you wait this long to start casting your Mind Sear, note that these mobs are already down to about 80% health before you start doing damage to them. They are a lot dead before you start doing damage to them. Now you might say this is trash DPS, but there are lots of fights in raids that involve adds. The same thing applies. The same rules applies. What you need to make sure of is if you are going to multi-dot, then multi-dot. Don't try and multi-dot, then go, oh, there's too many mobs, I need to Mind Sear. A good figure for a Shadow Priest is about 5 or 6 mobs. If you got 5 or 6 mobs, just Mind Sear them. You're going to see a nice DPS increase from that. And then just keep that Mind Sear up. This is nice. Like it. And then switching in to try and get a couple of Mind Blasts in. I wouldn't bother particularly. With this many mobs, you're more interested in making sure that you're just DPSing them down. And the Mind Seer is going to do that. When you start getting into these kind of things where you're single targeting, you're either AoEing or you're not. It's really the idea. You're either AoEing or not. Finishing this Mind Seer and then going back to a sort of single target rotation with all these mobs up. This dotting of this target, you still got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mobs to DPS here. If you've got 11 mobs, you just want to be Mind Seering. Be aware of how your Mind Seer works. Position here is vital. If these mobs charge random players, which happens in raids as well, get your ass next to the tank. There's no reason to be stood out. It's actually losing you DPS because these mobs are moving outside of your Mind Seer range just because of you being purposely stood away from them. You don't want that to happen. Don't want that to happen. Now we're down to this many mobs. Got to get our ass multi-dotting. More than fine with that. But remember, get them all multi-dotted. Ooh, there's a Mind Seer cast then. Don't think I didn't spot it. Don't think I did not spot your Mind Seer cast. Again, decide what dots you want on. If something's going to die super fast, Vampiric Touch is generally a waste of time. Don't want to do that. Don't want your Vampiric Touch to be... it's just a global you don't need to waste. Now, one thing our player does have, which a lot of people do not have, is the foresight to prepare for the boss. Note that he could cast his Devouring Plague here. He's got 3 Shadow Orbs, and he could have Devouring Plagued that. A lot of people would have done that. But instead he knows he's got a boss next. This is a wonderful thing. I actually fucking adore this. Keeping his Shadow Orbs for the boss. He knows he's got a boss next. Could have wasted it on that trash mob, but throughout this instance, he's going to be making sure he's got 3 Shadow Orbs ready for bosses, which is fucking awesome. So GG for that. GG. Okay. Lovely single target DPS. Can you guys get in the habit of pre-casting? I cannot stress this enough. Pre-casting is fucking amazing, right? I don't know what this is. Right? Let me go back. What is this? What is this tank thinking about? I don't know. Ugh, I've lost it. Lame. Come back. It's clicking business. See, I should be keybinding media player. That would make my life easier. Watch this. Last mob dies at 1 minute 32. Watch what happens here. It's so fucking bizarre, it drives me crazy. What is going on here? What is this tank fucking thinking about? I don't know. 143. 146. What is this? If any of you do this as tanks, fuck you, right? Seriously, what is this? What are you doing? 155. 156. Now he starts casting Army of the Dead at 2 minutes. I hate that. Seriously, you fucking tanks who do that. What are you doing? You eating your breakfast? I can't stand that. Oh. Anyway, we're into our single target pull. Used his shadow orbs and the Devouring Plague. Casted the Mind Blast straight off, and now he's into his single target rotation. There's something that we need to point out here. Right, okay. Does anybody know what these lines are? There's a reason we use quartz. It's not because it looks pretty. These lines are important. Does anybody know? Go on, guys. He's dual wielding because he's level 88 and he's pulling out tank spec. Ticks. 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 Okay, this is really important. This is why we use mods like quartz, okay? These are the spell ticks. All the time between this line and that line is nothing. Nothing is happening. You are not doing any damage. You are only doing damage with Mind Flay, where that line is, and at the end. That's it. When we cut off spells, you'll see in the training videos or the guides I've done about the shadowpriest, cutting off Mind Flay does not mean that as soon as something procs up that you should instantly cast it. Sometimes that is the case, sometimes not. What it actually means is you should wait for the tick. This is actually a substantial period of time in terms of DPS. There is a lot of time there. So it's a 3-second cast. It's like a full second. Full second might not seem a lot to you guys or to somebody who's new to the game. A full second of lost DPS is a lot of lost DPS. A lot of lost DPS. It really is. You need to be making sure that if you've cast Mind Flay to anywhere around this area, that you let that tick happen. Otherwise, you've basically just AFK'd for a second. You really have. And there's going to be a lot of instances in the fight of our player just cutting it a little bit fine and also skipping out on ticks. Just generally noting that he's not paid too much attention to it. Vampiric Touch fell off a little bit too long there. That's just a minor issue. It's not going to cost you like a world first or anything like that, or it might do at some point. Just be aware that when you're cutting these spells off, it's really, really important that you don't cut this spell off just as it's about to tick. Otherwise, you basically might as well just stood there AFK for a long time. Also note this, if you know this fight, I obviously know you know this fight because you prepared the Shadow Orbs for it. If you know this fight, then you should know that this guy switches at 50%. I would love to have seen you not trying to cast spells at him at 50%. Just paying attention to the fact that he's going to switch would have been really nice as well. And then you'll start picking up just all these little things add up. That's the important thing. All these little things in DPS add up, and then eventually you're going to start kicking ass and taking some fucking names. Which is what I want you to do. I want you to take some names. I want you to be a winner. So you can see it actually happens there. Is it this Mind Flay? Do you Mind Flay now? Yeah. Actually, you can see it's about to tick. Cast a spell. Cast a spell. It's just stupid little things like that really affect Shadow Priest DPS. They really do. These are huge things. You might not think it, but if you stood around for a second or something, you wouldn't imagine doing that on any other class. Mind Flay is tricky in that manner because that's what it means. That's what those ticks are. Just pay a little bit of attention to them. Overall, single target is more than fine. More than fine. There's only one other thing I want to demonstrate in this video, and it comes at the end, so I'll let you see you finish out the fight. But overall, your DPS is actually fine. For that level, 25, 26k, not that bad at all. I believe you actually win the DPS in this fight. I think. Maybe not. Maybe not. We've got a Hunter doing 32k. Right, here. I didn't notice immediately, but you don't have Fade keybinded. Come on. Gotta keybind Fade. Are you kidding me? Come on, keybind that shit. Keybind the fucking shit. You need Fade. You really need Fade keybound. Get it keybound because it stops situations like this. Watch the end of this fight. Tank's actually finished eating his tea, so he can continue on. And off he goes. When you get into these situations where you're multi-dotting, go straight in for the Mind Blast. Get the dot on. Tank tickles it or does something to it, and then you get aggro like this. This feels shitty when this happens because you're actually trying to get over there to do more damage. Get Fade keybound. Fade is awesome. Get it keybound. I did like this with the Angelic Feathers to increase your speed, and then straight in with the Mind Seer. Overall, the main issue that I saw with your play was little tiny minor things. Mind Flay clipping was the main one. Just chopping your Mind Flay just that second too early is really costing you DPS. Alright? Get Fade keybind. Get it keybound, right? For another reason, if you're doing mad AoE and you get aggro on certain mobs, fading actually increases your DPS because it keeps them gathered for your Mind Seer. There's a couple more instances of that going on, which is more than cool. And also, decide what you're doing with your AoE. Are you multi-dotting or are you not? It's important that you figure it out and decide beforehand. I generally just go, is there 5 mobs? Are they gathered up? I'm just going to Mind Seer. Feels lazy, but it works. Okay? If not, it's 4. Get them all multi-dotted. There's a couple of instances like this. If I just show this briefly. Yes, around here. This is one of those situations. When we're doing things like this, you've dotted up the singular mob, but there's 4 mobs here. I want to see dots all over them. And you're going to start getting tons of From Darkness Comes Light procs. And then you're really going to start seeing a DPS increase. Deciding to multi-dot now is the wrong time. You've already got mobs nearly dead. Then deciding to multi-dot, that's a really up and down on your DPS. You can see it's not really outdoing single target. AoEing should always be more than your single target damage. That's what you're after. If your AoE is not more than single target DPS, then you're doing something wrong. But you've multi-dotted one target. It's kind of shadow penning the other one. It's all a bit faffy on your AoE. That was your main issue. Nothing more than that. Your single target wasn't too bad. Just a bit of Mind Flay clipping and maybe a little bit more preparation. I did love that you kept your Shadow Orbs for just before bosses, which was cool. And I loved you use Tell Me When for when them Mind Blast procs were. So just decide what you're doing with your AoE. It's cool, right? You need to know what's going on with your AoE. I want you to know, and then you'll be more comfortable once you know. Right. Our grand finale. Now this video comes in from Sparkugs. Sparkugs has generously allowed me to use this video. He didn't have to, and I would like you to support him by sending. He's a YouTube channel, okay? SPARKUGGZ. I will put it in the comments video of the YouTube video, and I'll type it in Twitch now. I've actually typed it wrong. In order to keep getting this kind of footage, this is PTR footage, it would appreciate if you would send him a thanks on YouTube or give him a subscribe or something like that. So we all help each other out and we can get future videos off him as well. So, the problem with videos of bosses we haven't done. Nobody knows how to watch them, okay? You essentially turn on a video of like the world first and you look at the fucking damage meter. You look at the damage meter. That's it. Okay? You just look at, oh, and then it's like, oh, this is overpowered. That's overpowered. Oh, this class sucks. That's not what we do when we look at a brand new video. We're going to be looking at the, you can either call them the Zandalri Council or you can call them Council of Elders. This boss we're going to see was up for about 30 minutes on the PTR. It was ridiculous. The amount of playtime allowed for this fight on the EU servers was really bad. They killed it on their second pull, which is pretty cool. They killed it just as it was about to be switched off. I believe they got the switched off message while they were doing it. And it's going to be a fight you guys are going to encounter in patch 5.2 pretty early on. It's a cool fight. As a council fight, I'm just going to go over the idea of this fight because we're going to look at how, when you read a dungeon journal, you translate that into what we see on the screen. How are they coping with this ability? In essence, we've got 4 trolls. One of them is Blanca from Street Fighter, and I mean that seriously. It's what he's based on. He does the roll and he electrocutes people. We've got one who's a kind of healer type of dude, and then we've got 2 others. One of them's a sandy ass vagina, and the other one's a frosty kind of guy. And generally, there's mobs that stack debuffs, there's mobs that heal, there's mobs that freeze you, there's mobs that AoE you, blah, 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 blah. And there's a lot going on. In fact, the dungeon journal, if I bring it up here, the dungeon journal for this boss is really large, as you can see there. That's from Wowpedia. And you can see we get a dungeon journal that looks like this, and we're like, what the fuck? Okay, that is a lot of fucking information to read. Okay, that is a lot of information. A lot of people aren't going to read that. Not going to read that. What we've got on top of the 4 trolls is we've also got the Spirit of Garajal, that wonderful chappy troll that we killed in the Mogasham Vaults. He's floating around and he's going to be empowering our various trolls in different ways, giving them extra abilities and causing some trickery along the way. So Garajal, just to give you an idea of this fight, is the 4 trolls. The Spirit of Garajal is going to enter one of the trolls. Now, unlike normal council fights, their HP is not shared. They've got an individual HP pool. When Garajal is in a mob, you have to do 25% of that mob's health in order to get him to leave. Okay? Every time he leaves, that mob will do 10% increased damage. This forms a natural enrage. As he keeps moving around, all the mobs are going to get gradually more powerful, more powerful, more powerful, until they're going to kick you in the nuts and really fuck you over, which is awesome. I like natural enrages. And enrage time sucks, right? They put these enrage timers on bosses. That's really boring. And natural enrage doesn't feel like an enrage. It doesn't feel like an enrage, and I like that. So you have to do 25% of their maximum health every time they transfer. Our Frost King is going to be putting debuffs on. So we've got a fight. I want you to pitch this. Blanca cannot be tanked. Blanca is going to roll around anywhere. There was one of the mobs who cast a spirit, who forms a spirit. Any of you who've done Zul'Aman will know of the tiger spirit that comes from the 5th boss in there, or the 4th boss. And that spirit is going to be moving towards one of the other trolls, or it's going to be chasing a player. As such, we don't want this guy to be anywhere near the team. So that we can kind of get the idea we need these mobs spread out. But on top of that, we've also got Blanca rolling around at random people. This creates an interesting situation. Because how do we cope with the idea of him rolling around randomly and the fact that he might get a spirit? If he gets a spirit and he's rolled near this other priest, then we're in serious trouble. One way of doing that is positioning. A lot of people don't give enough credit to how top guilds position their raid. It's really important. It's one of the problems that mid-level and lower-level guilds don't tend to do. They only alter position when it's threatening, when this is going to be a problem or they've wiped because of it. As you move up, positioning is everything. I tell you this in the advanced guides. Position, 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 position. All the fucking time. Your position is so important because what it does is it actually prevents certain parts of the fight ever being a problem. Nothing is easier than when it's not even an issue. That's how easy it is. So in fact, these guilds tend to do fights in a much easier way than you will ever do them. They almost fight a nerfed version because certain abilities are just not an issue for them at all. because of their positioning. And we're going to see how that translates here. Okay, so let's begin. Wonderful Method logo. Method Network. Method.com. Now, just to make the point, I'm going to hide the damage meter. I know how much you guys want to see that, so I'm going to hide it. There we go. Just to make sure, because it's irrelevant, right? It's totally irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant. So we're going to kick off this fight. Now, as you can see, we've got the Frost guy, we've got Marley. Now, watch how quickly a position is established. I want you to note this. Instantly pulled, multi-dying everything, as a Warlock should. Instantly, Marley is the one who's going to be spawning these spirits. Going to be spawning these prisons. So he's furthest away from the raid. Now, not only is he furthest away, but watch the rest of the raid. They are very, very quickly going to get away from there to avoid this. There's Blanca. He's the rolling troll of death. If he was to roll there later in the fight, we would have a serious problem because Marley could spawn a spirit and travel to them. One other thing to note is these spirits move to the mobs with the lowest health. So as such, two ways of countering Blanca's abilities. One is not to stand anywhere near him, so the spirits can't go to there. And Blanca should never be the lowest health mob. Okay, he should never be the lowest health mob, which is going to happen quite naturally as the melee aren't on him. But if that was to occur, then we would have a serious problem on our hands. Now look at this positioning. All spread out. Everybody is spread out in a lovely way, allowing this cross-section to occur. The middle remains completely empty throughout the majority of the fight, for good reason. Blanca can multi-roll people. You can see him rolling there. There he is, this Khazra Jinn. You can see as he rolls all the way through there, he's only going to go for the one person, unless it's the melee. But that's not going to disrupt everybody else's DPS. You can see he rolls back nice and easily. I also want to note this. Do not say that you do not know you're going to be hit by Blanca. Do not fucking say it. Because there it is. You see this smoke? You see it there? Clear as fucking day. There's a path right from Blanca all the way to there. That means he's coming for you. And as you can see, Sparko, like a boss, clocks it, moves out of the way. Blanca goes ahead and hits nobody. Which is all good. Now, there is a certain... you can see, there it is again. I just want it on fucking record that it's there. So many people were like, it doesn't show it. It doesn't show it. But there it is. And therefore, you shouldn't really be hit by Blanca at all. Now, there you go. Look at how this positioning has solved this problem. This is a major problem, and I'm sure any of you who do this fight, or when you do this fight, are going to see this as a problem. Look at the distance between the lower spirit and the other mobs. Look at that fucking distance. That is more than 40 yards. That is literally just positioning. Just positioning that's caused that. Although, oh, Sparko dodges it. Nice. It has an eternity. There is zero fucking chance that that is going to be a problem, that the spirit is going to be a problem, exactly down to positioning. Now, this is one of those moments that people call, and I'm sure you've all heard this, we got unlucky, right? And we wiped because we got unlucky. You've all been there. Oh, I just got unlucky. And then you wipe because of it, because you got unlucky. Unlucky shit happens. Unlucky fucking shit happens, okay? You need to get rid of it. RNG. Why did you die? Oh, RNG got me. There are ways around RNG, including combat reses. They exist for that reason. RNG can happen, but you have ways of countering that. What you do not have are ways of countering fucking idiocy. You die in something completely avoidable, like you get hit by Blanca 10 times in a fucking row and he beats the shit out of you. That's your fault. That's not RNG. What we're about to see is RNG, and this is why we have certain abilities that get us out of there. There are seriously... in this game right now, very, very, very little chance that you are wiping to RNG. Extremely little chance. Very, very little chance. It's not something I've ever believed. When someone tells me they died to RNG, no, you didn't. You may have died because of an unlucky number of combos, but we have ways around that, and it's unlikely to happen multiple times. This is one of those moments. Not only is Sparko being rooted by the sand mob, but Blanca is on his way to kick his ass. You can see he's rolling right there. We've got a nice troll anus ready to go straight up Sparko's ass. So he can't move. He cannot move from it. He's been rooted by the sandstorm, and now he is actually planted and face planted with Blanca. This is where Ball of Healers come in as well. Blessing of Protection. Blessing of Protection, sort him straight out, no problems at all. That's why we have those kinds of cooldowns. It may even be a lay on hands, but either way, that Pally Healer clocked it, sorted it, no problem at all. I want you to note this as well. This is going to fuck a few of you up when you actually do this fight. There are 2 frost abilities in this fight. Now, when one is Biting Cold, okay, Biting Cold AoEs everybody around you with frost damage. So obviously you don't want to be in that. However, when Garajal enters the frost guy, our frost king Malek, that guy, he's over there now. When Garajal enters him, he actually does another ability on you called Frostbite. Looks exactly the fucking same. Looks exactly the same, but it works differently. Is you need to stand next to people. Another thing that's going to catch you out when you do this fight, okay? So when you get this ability, this Biting Cold, like Blatty has there, you're going to go ahead and you're going to stay away from there. Now, this looks a little bit messy. Things are all getting moved around. Look how quickly they get it back into position, though. Get away from him, all nice and tidy, and keep this area clear as much as possible. Had to move there for some healing. He's going to move out of that area very quickly. I just want to point out that is Apco. You may remember him from Way of the Warrior. Sucking balls and standing in the middle. There's the spirit again, spawning away. An eternity to get to any of these mobs. An absolute fucking eternity. So cool. Blanca get trolling Sparko like he should. But other than this, you're not going to see many problems. There you can see there he's got the Biting Cold, so he's going to move away. Nicely on his own, knows the difference. This is where you get Tell Me When to know the difference between these abilities. It's going to be really important for you to know that. So we skip further down the line. We see positioning. Still keeping it as close as possible. They need to be in taunt range. You can see the tanks are swapping nice and easy. But this is only the second pull. Now, this is a reason this has occurred. Is Garajal has entered Blanca. This is going to be the nightmare that you guys are going to face. And this is where they run into a little bit of a tricky moment. I think it's about here. Oh, it's just happened. Come away. Let me find it. The positioning of your raid, when one person screws you up, you're going to have a really bad time. This person over here, I think it's Ashira, has moved well out of the raid with her Frostbite, or Biting Cold. She's moved well to safety, or he has moved well to safety, but too fucking far. Too fucking far. Watch what happens. Is a really bad situation, which is going to screw you up. Blanca, if I can move the giant crits out of the way, Blanca can roll anybody. Can roll anybody. This is why you need to be in this circular area as best you can, because Blanca can roll out of the raid. If one person moves too far away, Blanca rolls out of the raid. He is the most annoying 1-2 DPS. He's the most annoying 1-2 DPS because he can be anywhere. Melee can't switch properly, and then they go into Bloodlust. I believe he then becomes empowered. Yeah, Kazrajin has become empowered, which is a total pain in the ass. So if we had this guy empowered, remember when they're empowered, you need to do 25% of their health before they max their damage, before they max their energy. He becomes an absolute nightmare. Look where he is. Look where he is. This is all down to position that's caused this. Him rolling players who are far away. Now they need to put so much damage into a mob that is miles away. This affects DPS in untold ways. For multi-dotters, this is a nightmare. Sparkle gets a reasonably good position here to put it away. But you need to be aware when you do this fight, people should not run so far away. I just want you to be aware of that. This fight is not messy and it's not difficult. It's very, very easy. It's all about positioning. When positioning starts becoming a mess, this is when this happens. Obviously, having a shitload of sandstorms doesn't help. But things become a little bit messier when you start letting things get a little bit out of control. But they do well to keep it together. Fucking awesome. Remember, these are really, really, really good players. And now keep it nice and controlled all the way for the rest of the fight. Marley a little bit close, but I'm sure they fix that shortly. All pretty cool. So it's a wonderful looking fight. I want you to remember that. It looks absolutely phenomenal. Nothing crazy going on at all. Biting Cold, moving away. No issue at all. And just be aware when you get the Frostbite is that you need to move together. Now, the last thing I wanted to note is this. This is when the Sand guy becomes empowered, okay? Soul the Sandcrawler summons Deadly Sandstorm. Sandstorm is going to suck up all them sand patches that you saw and turn them into mobs. This is where your little cooldowns. Watch how the raid reacts to this. Watch how the raid reacts to this. Kill the lower spirit. That's dead. Then comes the sandstorm. There it is. Look how quickly this raid gathers together. So all those mobs are together. By using a combination, things like Gorfian's Grasp, and actually just moving everybody in, it becomes a complete non-issue, because they just AoE them down without much difficulty. The only person not in the pile there is literally Sparko, so he can keep this debuff out of the raid. Everybody else, very super fast. That's experience. We need to gather. Boom, we gather together. We kill them all really, really quickly. And then we go back about our business as soon as it's done. And these major life-threatening moments. Major life-threatening moments. A lot of you are going to wipe when that sandstorm happens. Just want you to know how easy it is to deal with. Very, very quickly. Look at that. As soon as it's finished, back into position. Get these mobs away from Marley, just so that spirit has a long-ass way to travel. And it's at 30% before it even starts walking. A total non-issue. Now you're going to see the raid get back into its normal positioning. Really get back into its normal positioning and just returning to this standard way. Position, position, position. This fight teaches so much about position. I love the idea of this fight. It's all about position. It's about thinking every single time something happens, what is my position? How can I fix it? All nicely moving out of the way of Blanca. Besides, Blatty, who's a boss and just moves into it. Not giving a shit, 2013. Fucking froggy fresh. And it all gets a bit panicky. Remember, these mobs are doing a ton more damage now. You can see the tank health. Swapping to keep their stacks medium, which is all good. But still maintaining this position as best as possible. Always thinking, look at how often Sparko's moving. I just want you to note how often Sparko moves. As a caster who does not want to be moving too much, look how often he is moving around in this fight. It is all the fucking time. This is the sign of a really, really good player. I can't stress this enough. You should follow him on YouTube if you want your specific Warlock stuff. He does some really wonderful things. Always fucking moving as much as possible. Permanently thinking about where am I stood and where can I get a better position. Not just to AoE DPS, not just to cheese dots, but to get a better position so I can stay alive and avoid as much shit as possible. Constantly moving. All the fucking time. All the fucking time. Really nice. You should be doing this all the time. He preferred to be stood still, but it's not what he needs to do right now. He wants to run into Blanca's face. But he's moving constantly. Really, really cool. And then, of course, they go on to finish this boss in app style. And just for those of you who see it, Sparko, of course, did win. But this is a fight that does favour multi-dying. That's a fight that does favour multi-dying. Wonderful example there. That's one of the bosses. It's not this was their second pull. All decided in the second pull. This motion. How do we counter all these abilities? Remember, I showed you before how many abilities this is going on in this fight. All this is going on in that fight all the time. All this crap is what's going on. How do we solve most of it? 99% of the problems in that fight are simply solved by good positioning. We have tank swaps, so the tanks need to be in range. We have one thing that's going to spawn an ad, which is going to travel. So let's get a good distance between there. We've got a mob that's going to roll random players, and he's possibly going to be targeted and needed immense DPS. Okay, so if we create a circle, he's going to roll through the middle where nobody is, which is amazing. So he's not going to do excess damage to anybody. And also we can see him coming nice and easily. And if he does roll one of us, he's not going to be too far away. All these things are so easily countered by this. Should we get loads of ads spawning, we want them together. We want to cleave them down super fast. Look how quickly that raid gathers. And again, position, position, position. This fight is going to be position. When you are doing this fight in 5.2, when the patch comes out, I can't stress to you enough that it is all the problems that you're going to face are going to be defeated by positioning. Is your raid in a good position? And then watch for those people who just drift. A lot of people are really good at finding a position at the beginning of a fight. And I'm sure you're all guilty of this as well. The beginning of a fight, you find yourself a good position, then the fight starts, and before you know what's going on, you're 20 fucking miles away from where you started, and you're not really thinking about it. Oh, I need to go and DPS that, so I'll move over there. Look how quickly, we were how long into that fight? Where was it? Here. We had all this mess going on. This was a messy situation. We had the sandstorms. This is just as the sandstorms happen. Around here, I think. After he gets frostbite. Get frostbite. There it is. Gets the frostbite. Gets out of there. This is where it's all looking a bit messy. You can see the raid dipping low. All sorts of shit going on. People getting AoE'd. All these ads gather. Now they reposition. AoE all those ads down super fucking fast. which is great to see. Now and look at this. I'm going to skip just 20 seconds ahead. Look at this. 20 seconds ahead, all the raid is moving back to its original positions. This is where Sparko started the fight. Look where he is now. Look where he is at the beginning of the fight. Exactly the same fucking place. Exactly the same fucking place. He's completely back in his original position. Beginning, end of the fight. Same place. That's the difference. It's not about just finding a good position at the start of a fight and then just losing it as the fight goes on. It's about remembering that position, adapting to what the situation calls for, and then getting back in that position because there's a reason you're there. If everybody plays like that, then at the end of the fight, you're going to have an easier time. When things start getting stressful, these bosses are doing more damage, the guy's swapping faster, all this kind of stuff, everybody's going to be great because the positions are still as good as when we started. It's really important. That, my friends, the end of Workshop Wednesday. I hope you enjoyed it. There's a reason I cover those. So next time you watch, before I finish up, the next time you watch a video of a first boss kill, ignore the DPS meter. Cover it up if you can. It's not what's important. You're learning what are these guys doing. Look at things like position. Look at things like debuffs. Where are the tanks and so on and so forth. And you're going to have a better time. So we want to see more of these videos. So if you do me a favour, follow Sparko. Give him a hell yeah and a holler from us. And hopefully we'll get to see a lot more of that kind of stuff. And it will help you when patch 5.2 lands. I hope you enjoyed Workshop Wednesday. And I'm done. I'm done. Friday, Drama Friday. Send in your drama stories to me, preachgaming@gmail.com. I will type it in again. It's Sparkugs, SPRKUGGZ. Give him a nice big thank you from us. I have a lot of workshop videos, so we're going to have Workshop Monday. Okay? Doesn't rhyme. Whatever, right? We're going to have Workshop Monday. So it's going to be pretty cool. We'll have Workshop Monday where we're going to look at something else, and everything's going to be awesome. Alright, guys? So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow. Where we'll be going over the latest WoW news and all sorts of things like that. I kind of want to look at some of the ideas that have been posted today, but it was Workshop Wednesday. So I kind of want to look at some of the things that have been posted that are kind of interesting about patch 5.2 and some of the ideas on that. And then we've got Drama Friday. Alright, guys? So thank you, and I will see you later.